Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum. Ji-ayanu, Pakhair-agale, Ni-hao, Chunashumme, Washmale, Ohai Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Ola, Bonjour, Privyat, Kaifahal, Halishuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabi, Bhalli Kare, Hosh Kaldin, and I was Khuya Mora, Adab, and thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into PTV World. You are certainly watching World this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Hajar, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me, Shahzad. So yesterday it was raining. Now I had seen some of the sun coming through the clouds.
And it felt nice.
Yeah, so Islamabad looks really nice after the rain because it's all washed up and it's very green, and we can see certainly the impact of that greenery on our refreshing mental health also, right, when it comes to that. So talking about the journey, Shahzad, I was listening to a very interesting conversation. So journey, it is that time of the year. Obviously now winter vacations have ended, but when there were winter vacations, people often go on the vacations, they move to different places, some go to the mountains for the very nice retreat into the nature, observing the nature and feeling the nature, but some go to other areas. But having said so, journey has a lot of meanings, right? So for those who wanted to delve deeper into their self and they wanted to discover who they are, they have a different definition of journey. And for people like us who are commuting every day on Islamabad's roads, journey has a very different meaning because a lot of time, especially when it's
journey.
Yeah, especially when it's raining and there's so much clogged traffic on the roads. So journey takes a very sort of sometimes very negative connotations for us because we have to travel so long. And obviously, and you know what? So I left my office at 11:15 and I reached my home at 1:45. So it was such a long journey, and all of my petrol was getting wasted on the roads of Islamabad. But obviously, having said so, Shahzad, you also have a journey. And when I talk about more philosophically, so how do you define your life journey so far, and what do you want to achieve?
Okay, you know, I believe that it's a wonderful question, one of the toughest questions on this planet Earth as well, where people tend to ask about your journey. So, you know, I've spoken about it quite a lot and a lot of times where I actually take every single day as a next step towards my journey. Because I see that life is not about having that one destination. I believe that life is all about this very journey, this very process of being on journey, initiating, and then making sure that you're going to dedicate yourself, be passionate. Then there are the highs and lows of life where one day you get up, you're like, hey, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. The next day you wake up and you're like, hey, you know what, that was a fantastic opportunity for me. So for everybody who's out there, I think we certainly need to contemplate in this way. I mean, this is a very generic statement for me to say to you, but obviously each and every individual knows and realizes from which walk of life they come and then what sort of a life they actually want for themselves. But I've always been very believing about the fact that people who are actually whose heart is full of gratitude, you know, who wake up, who thank Allah Almighty for whatever blessings He has bestowed upon. And then not just that, I think in addition to that, they're just looking not upwards, but rather downwards within the society as well. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you know, when we tend to start to look on the people, for example, somebody driving a Lamborghini, and I use these names quite often, I love cars as well, or a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. Ladies and gentlemen, you really need to look at your Honda Civic or your Suzuki Mehran or your carry dabba gadi as well, and make sure that you kind of look at those people who unfortunately, even in this cold weather, do not have a car to afford. And I think that it will give you that meaning of life which will give you contentment and happiness, and I think that's what we want. But we want a life which is successful over here and in the hereafter. So for all of those people who are out there, please make sure that you focus on that. But having said that, I think we really need to come back to where we need to talk about what's happening inside the country and outside the country, or probably within this world, because we go out in 47 different countries as well. But the first up, ladies and gentlemen, due to the incompetence of the Punjab government and the indifference of the district administration, there is a flower crisis in Pak Patan for a month. Not a very good news. Flower has become so scarce that the citizens are being given flower through lottery. Through lottery, the lucky citizens are also forced to buy flower at 160 to 170 rupees per kg. The citizens have demanded that the flower prices and the crisis be controlled immediately so that the poor people can get relief. And I would certainly request the Punjab government, the provincial government, to look into it. I mean, That's the only thing which a Gharib, you know, after an entire day of dihadi is actually going to go and make sure that he's going to have just that one chapati or two chapatis. So we really need to make sure that the government is actually putting in that effort. So Punjab government, please look into this matter. You know, this is our initiative of kind of making you aware that, you know, there are people who certainly need your support.
So moving on to our another top story, which is about the cricket, which is about the sports. So New Zealand beat Pakistan by 79 runs in the second one-day international of 3-match series in Karachi. PTV Sports HD is telecasting the entire event live. Pakistani team is chasing 262-run target against New Zealand, which is all out for 182 runs in 43 overs. So and yes, Shahzad, your analysis.
Yeah, Raja, this was very unfortunate because, you know, we had won the first ever one-day international, you know, which took place over here in Pakistan, in Karachi against New Zealand. It was the first one-day international in 2023 which we were playing. We won it by 6 wickets. And there were some crucial partnerships, you know, by Fakhar Zaman, Babar Azam, then Babar Azam and Rizwan, then Rizwan and Haris. So 73, 70, 50, you know, so there were these partnerships which made sure that Pakistan will be able to chase. But the pitch was very different, and when New Zealand won the toss, they very well read the pitch conditions as well, which is why they opted to bat first as well. And it wasn't, even though that Naseem Shah actually got us early blood, but it wasn't until after the 30th over that we started to get wickets. And meanwhile, Kane Williamson and Devon Conway had already damaged Pakistan quite a lot. They had a crucial partnership of 181 runs. And that was a massive, bigger partnership. And then Nawaz with 4 wickets, obviously, Naseem Shah with a few wickets, Osama Mir, and then Haris Rauf actually got lucky as well. But our batters really did disappoint us just yesterday. I think our bowling was on point.
Okay, so I mean, it's cricket. Obviously, one team is going to win, one is going to lose. But the important part is that we reflect on where our shortcomings were and then improve upon it.
True.
Right? So moving on to the seasonal news, which is about the season. Light to moderate intensity rain lashing different parts of country, including the twin cities of Islamabad and Rawalpindi, has subsided the foggy weather conditions and turned on the cold weather. The cold weather has compelled the citizens to stay indoors most of the time and wear warm and cozy clothes to prevent themselves from seasonal diseases, especially cough and influenza.
Yeah, I don't know how to kind of avoid that. I mean, last night when I was sleeping, I was feeling perfectly fine. I woke up, everything was choked, and I was like, hey, you know what's happening? I think it's something, it has to do something when you're sleeping, probably not taking the quill properly as well, feeling that cold. But not just that, having said that, Haja, you know, we see, and we've been sharing these visuals where these cars, we can see these cars slipping. And it's really dangerous. Why can't we prepare ourselves just according to the weather? I mean, all you need is probably tires which can actually kind of give you some traction on snow. If not that, you can put up chains, you know, they're available on rent as well. And please make sure that you do not put your life in danger. I mean, all of these cars slipping, people think that it's interesting. It's not. Ask the people who are actually sitting in that car and they can see that our car's slipping and it's just not stopping. And then, you know, we do have a ditch right next to us. You know, so please make sure that you prepare accordingly. When we speak about the weather, we really need to make sure that, you know, we keep our health on the top priority, not just that, our safety as well. So for each and every individual who's going outside, please make sure that you stay safe and healthy.
So, Shahzad, you're talking about the cars, and let's delve deeper into how they are produced, how they are manufactured, and the business aspect of the cars.
Yeah.
So, having said so, some of the big conglomerates have, obviously, they are into a lot of diverse businesses, but also the cars is like General Motors and Ford, they have the big cars business. And a lot of MBA students or the business students who were studying the business studies in the 20th century or maybe in the 21st century, I think that they need to reflect these programs, they need to reflect the reality of 21st century, because they are still centered around the operations, the HR and marketing. Yes, the MBA student is speaking, we can see very well, and stuff like that. But if you delve into the market realities, if you see the digital tycoons or the digital businesses, they are hardly centered around the production or the physical production of the goods. They are more hinged around the knowledge production aspect of that. But how much does our knowledge or our MBA's programs reflect these realities today? We are going to talk about it.
Yeah, and before we kind of introduce our most worthy guests, ladies and gentlemen, whom we have over here inside the studios, you know, I'm going to take you back in time when it was 2003 and 2004. And students like me, you know, who weren't really very good with grades, you know, throughout their school and college. So imagine that we were not able to get our admissions in engineering, maybe mechanical or any other, or probably medicine. We weren't the type, So okay, this was a debate with my father. I was like, what should I do? He was like, why don't you do business studies?
Okay.
And since I have a business background, I was like, okay, I think I should go for it. And while I started to ask, and my counseling part was there, people would tell me, yaar, agar kuch aur nahi kar sakte ho, to phir tum ye kar lo, and this is a very incompetent notion which was given to me as well in those days. But fortunately, alhamdulillah, I was glad enough that I got great teachers I got to learn from. They used to bring in these Ivy League universities cases,
Mashallah.
and they really opened up my horizon and exposure. And for whatever I did in life, alhamdulillah, so I've applied it on myself. As a marketeer, I've applied it on myself as well, and it has worked wonderfully well. From the personality development to knowing how to kind of treat your customers, product development. I mean, all of these things.
Right.
But having said that, you've hit the nail on the head where you said that, it's more knowledge, it's more intangible. There's lesser tangibility in it. True. So imagine we haven't had any business festivals, while we were in university. So the skill set wasn't really polished the way it should have been polished. And I think that's something which I would certainly want to pick up, that that if we are to kind of gain that knowledge, and we sharing the visuals of our amazing guest who's actually inside the studios with us as well. So I think without any further ado, people have understood my point. I'm going to introduce our most worthy guest, ladies and gentlemen, one of the youngest ever deans probably I've ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, he happens to be Professor Dr. Muhammad Naveed Saab, who happens to be the Dean, Business Department, Berry University. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Pakistan. I would say the topic that we have taken today, this is the pulse of the nation, I would say.
Right.
Thanks for providing me this opportunity. I think we are speaking the same language.
True.
The media giving the lens that is towards the development side, coming through the window of the universities, and looking into the demonstration of the value.
True.
So once again, I think I have to be very humble. We are doing certain executions, but these executions are taking place in the silos. We have to be shared as an economy as well. We have to be shared as an industry as well.
Exactly.
And having said so, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you, Shahzad. So when we talked about it into the introduction, that how MBA's degrees need to be future-proof, right? They need to be acclimatized with the digitalization of the 21st century, and make sure when the MBAs or the business students, they go into the market, they don't have to be retrained, because a lot of time they have to be retrained through their training programs and whatnot. So how much is your university doing in this regard? How much does your course reflect the realities of 21st century?
Okay, so we have to come up with the reality first.
Yeah.
The reality, we are living in the new age. How much you are ready to have the adaptability of this new age? This adaptability is very, very important. The starting point is we have to accept that we are going to accept this change. Change is constant, believe me.
Yeah.
When you say the change is constant,
change is the only thing which is constant.
So then the thing which is more important, then you have to revisit your habits.
True.
So we have to look into the two acumen. When we see the business education in particular, MBA, and the diversification of all the other programs, we are speaking about the supply chain, project management, we are speaking about finance, accounting, the future of the CFO today. So all these things, they are coming with one lens. What is the acumen that is we are teaching, we are developing in the persona of our students?
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I don't want to be very specific about my institution. I want to be very holistic.
Right.
Holistically speaking, we have to bring a very close thought towards a skill set that is the requisite level that is being desired by the industry.
True.
From that point of view, we have to revisit ourselves. So Barrier Business School now in particular, we have taken very stern measures. We are on a very, very rapid reviews we are taking towards what is the standing of my programs, MBA, all other programs. We have a quick review from the industrial partners where we are coming up with SIGs, special interest groups. I would say that we need to develop everywhere. So these SIGs, they would have a very close liaison. If I want to see what is the placement of my MBA student, this is the one thought.
True, and that's a very pertinent question.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, why we are not giving another sense? Why we are job seekers today?
True.
So we have to break this ice. This is very, very important. We have to give them a sense of the job creation. So we are living in the age of the Gen Zs, I would say. The previous generation, it was I would say the millennial generation was there. Now we are speaking with the digital era. It's a generation coming up with the brought up of the digital landscape.
Right.
From that point of view, as a teacher, as a professor, as the custodian of the HEIs, I have to bring one thought that we have to look into the most important thing. that is basically it's the perspective of the learning.
Right.
Student not exist anymore today. Today we have to accept this reality. We have to bring the interface that is coming with the learner's perspective.
Right.
If I need to find out, if I'm sitting as one of the seeker towards the MBA programs,
Right.
I don't have the acumen towards the orientation towards the higher education. So then I need to rethink myself that I have to teach the acumen to this student. This is more towards the industry side.
Right.
So learner's perspective that we need to engage from 3 lenses.
Okay.
The first lens, which is more important, that is it's a professor of practice.
True.
So the Barrier University in particular, we have taken this drive. I would say we started a drive of POP.
Okay.
Now we have the professor of practice. They are coming in capacity as a professor. They are giving a sense of a working knowledge.
True. Obviously.
So this transferable knowledge, this knowledge which is more towards the application side.
True.
On the one side, we started the horizon that is coming with the POP, professor of practice. I am the custodian as the professor of academics. I know the scientific side of the research and the academics,
Okay.
but I couldn't find out what's going on, what is the pulse of the industry.
Right.
So the second orientation that we have in the academic curriculum of the university, we have a professor of research as well. So
Okay.
we want to capture the perspective of the learners. So this perspective of the learners that is coming from 3 point of view.
How do we capture that?
We captured through the SIGs. We
Okay.
captured through the
those
capstone
people,
projects.
yes.
Right.
We started working with the capstone projects.
Okay.
Believe me, if you're working on a final year project,
Right.
you are coming up with the specialization of finance, supply chain management.
Right.
If you're coming up with the academic advisement only,
Right.
so believe me, you're going to bank your research in the repository of the university. It's not going to add any impact.
Right.
So what we are doing, we started
Right.
capstones. Our projects, they are bringing one eye from the industry. Now the industrial partner working in the capacity as a co-investigator. Now we have academic supervisors. We have
Right.
the expert from the industry. Now we need to find out where this research, where this project, where this graduate, it's going to have its impact.
So you're bridging that gap, and that gap was there. But, having said that, all of these things you've said, I believe that, that's some commendable work, because while I was in my university, I used to, kind of ask my professors as well that, since you haven't had any business experience, how can you come over here and teach us business or business management? And that's very valid, and thank you very much for doing that. But having said so, I still believe that, this very education bit of it is very intangible, so, okay, Maslow's hierarchy, needs, wants, demands, requirements, business cycle, maturity, decline, all of that. So you learn all of that, but unfortunately, I think there's not been a course which will tell me how to have a great product, or probably how to initiate my business, how to look for investments. And I think that we really need to modify these courses in a way where they shape us that, hey, we really have this opportunity out there. We have had this collaboration. We were doing our internship. We went to this industry. We have learned this as well. So that skill set is so enhanced in these days, because imagine that a 10-year-old or a 11-year-old YouTuber today is actually earning more than somebody who's actually had done MBA in the past, or probably engineering, or even medicine for that matter. People are making millions of dollars. How do you think that, according to the needs of today, we reshape, we restructure the very basics of business studies?
I would say it's a very seminal thought that we need to share with the larger audience, I would say. Okay, the demonstration is the starting point.
True.
How you're going to demonstrate the value of your degree.
True.
If you're coming up with the status quo that we have to demonstrate through the body of knowledge, and this body of knowledge is not coming up with a liaison with the industry, believe me, you are not going to add any impact.
True.
So this demonstration that is coming with a skill-based transcript. Now,
Yeah.
I'm giving a bigger thought. This thought is I want to share with the Higher Education Commission as well.
Okay.
Prior to the PhD, I've been the part of the HEC for several years. So
For 7 years.
for several years,
Okay.
about 7-8 years, I was
Yeah.
the head of R&D.
MashaAllah.
So entire world, they started a skill-based transcript, I would say. I wouldn't say it's a student today, it's a techies.
Okay.
They have the skills, they have the competencies, they know the pulse of the industry, but they cannot invite the long way journey because they need a license. I have this license, I call it a transcript, it's a degree. So the starting point, we have to introduce with the liaison of the industry a skill-based transcript, where we need to have on the one side university giving this certification. Yes, we have this assurance of learning that is coming through the academic side, through the scientific validation of the universities,
Bilkul.
but we also need to have the input of the industry as well. Industry would validate this skill set, this competency, these knowledge areas. These knowledge areas, they are very close to the needs of the industry. Believe me, it was a time when you want to bring the change, you need decades. But the time is passing very rapidly. Now you need to find out just number of days to bring the change in the decades of the life.
And the time is now.
So these are fast moving development taking place. You have to come up with a dynamic academic model, I would say. You have to look into all these economic, social, financial shocks, how quickly you are going to find out that this model have the capacity to absorb these shocks.
True.
So I would say clapping with one finger, it's not going to give a very loud impact. We have to clap with the 5 fingers where we are coming up with the industrial knowledge partner.
Okay, yes.
If industry is still working the silos, believe me, I cannot give the assurance of that skill set.
So how do you think that the universities can get the industry to be on their projects, making sure that, that we're preparing students for the future holistically, because that's where our conversation started. So is Berry University Business Department in conversation with one of the biggest ever companies we've seen in Pakistan, may them be tech companies, may them be automobile companies, may them be construction companies.
Right.
So do you think that the university is taking that initiative?
Want to be more particular about the Berry University?
Yes.
The Berry University, we are already started SIGs.
Okay.
Our SIGs, they are already associated with all these economic sectors and the development side of the industry.
Wonderful.
From that point of view, as I said earlier, we started capstones, even we started a joint case writing as well.
All right.
So from that point of view, but believe me, the role of the HEC is very, very important.
True.
Looking into the industry side, if I want to speak, okay, what's going on towards these SDGs, now I need to bring the thought of the societal impact.
Right.
HEC is going to give a qualification framework. This qualification framework, this is the assurance that we need to comply with the HEC. If Higher Education Commission, that is going to give a certain level of the significance that the project that is being initiated with the industry through capstone, through R&D projects, this project is going to give the universities certain elements of the credit ratings towards their ranking of the university as well.
Exactly.
Believe me, it would change the orientation of the university. In particular, the Berry University, we have the innovation drives, more than 30 business startups we already established.
Wow.
And believe me, 3 to 4 global startups, they are giving a revenue back to the university as
All right,
And-
and don't
and
you
having
think,
said-
Hajar, just a smaller question, don't you think that, for a university who's actually graduating thousands of students every year, 30 business examples will not suffice at this point of time? I think that the percentage really needs to be somewhat around 50% at least, that okay, if 1,000 kids graduated, in a single 4-year degree or a 2-year program, I think that the percentage really needs to be higher. Only giving example of 30 businesses being established is somewhat not close to even successful.
It's a good thought, I would say. It's a pain line.
True.
So we have to look into that. We have to come up with a sense of the business incubations, I would say.
True.
Increasing the playbook of the HEIs, bringing more business schools. You can definitely add towards the academic inclusion on the one side, but believe me, you would compromise the impact.
True.
So you have to come up with this sense where you are coming up with the students, they are not graduate with the sense of a job seeking. You have to come up with the business school, they are coming with a sense of a job creation as well. When I interview the most of the students, after giving them the certification of their graduations, everyone is coming, I am a job seeker. Believe me, what your economy need today, a sense of the social ventures, a sense of the business development, where we can contribute towards the economic development as well. A quick thought, what the German economy they have done.
Right.
They are not coming up with this thought that we have to bring more number of the business schools. They are coming up with how we are going to change the habits of the people from the savings towards the spending.
Investing.
They are going to have a 2 times taxations. If your savings, they are going to exceed to this certain level of that is been the framework that has been established by the German government.
Exactly.
Now what they are doing basically, they are going to develop these habits of the spending. So starting point, we need to give this private equity traveling from the savings towards the public equity. Now coming towards the same thought, as a nation, if I'm sitting the capacity as a professor, I'm the head of the higher education institutions, believe me, I have the habits of the savings of my expertise, savings of my skills, saving of my education as well.
And it can't be taxed.
It cannot be taxed.
Yeah.
And believe me, you have to believe in the sharing of the knowledge. You have to believe in the sharing of the skills, competencies. So this is one of the, I would say, the gray area that is prevailing in the country. Institutions are there, they are not shared.
Right.
If we are going to bring a synergetic efforts where universities, they are more coming up with the operational as well as towards the research orientations.
And the
so
industry
believe me,
comes
it's
in.
going to have the loud impact. So we working in silos. So I wouldn't be the advocacy of that point. We need to bring more business school. We have to revamp the existing business school. They are coming with the on the one side collaborations with the industry, but at the same time you have to come up with the sound of the what is the demonstration of the impact we are adding.
So that you can clap with 5 fingers.
And speaking
We can
of
clap.
revamping our education system, especially when it comes to business schools, because you have expertise there. So the best example that comes into my mind is the Harvard Business Review, how they are actually making the case studies out there, and it is sort of a collaboration between the market and between the academia. And a lot of brands will actually want to collaborate with them so that they get a new demographics and they could reach new people out there. So do we have, does the Bahariya University have something of that sort, an equivalent of the Harvard Business Review? I know that in the research and development, Pakistan is not doing as good as the Western countries are, but I think it's a good example of how to start, right?
True.
Okay, the starting point, I would say, I wouldn't name what we have to follow that is being achieved by the Harvard University. Our advocacy that is towards the Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Of Silicon Valley, that is one of the initiative of the leading university of America.
Right.
Okay. The starting point was of the Silicon Valley that we have to come up with the sense of the VC. Now, I'm not speaking about the vice chancellor.
Okay.
They said, okay, we have to give the new meaning to the VC. It's the venture capital.
Okay.
So it was a starting point.
Right.
So coming back to the your thought, so coming up with the model of the Stanford University,
Right.
they said, okay, we need to change the definition of the VC. It's not the vice chancellor. This is the venture capital.
Okay.
So what they have done over the period of time, they
Right.
just look into what is the entire population of California.
Right.
It was a starting point.
Okay.
A scientific research that has been there.
Okay.
Then what is the dry powder? I'm using the word dry powder. Dry powder is basically your all those investment, they're not invested.
Right.
It's knowledge,
Right.
it's expertise, it's skill set, it's your capital as well.
Okay.
So then they said how the capital, this private equity, this private knowledge, it need to travel to the industry. So they established the idea of a commercial entity.
Right.
So this Silicon Valley, now it's a commercial entity. Now
Right.
it has become the hub of the 1/3 venture capital of the entire world. You
Right.
need to find out every scientific drive that is coming. Even speak about the Elon Musk, where he's coming from. He's coming from one origin.
Okay.
Warren Buffett is coming from one origin. That is the Silicon Valley.
Okay.
So these basically the center of gravity. Center of gravity is basically you have to come up with the sense of the public-private partnerships.
True.
Right.
So where industry coming as a knowledge partner with a very sustainable relation with the universities. So
Right.
from this point of view, if you are going to foster the Silicon Valley in the true spirit, believe me, even the countries like Thailand, what they have done, their universities, they have their own commercial entities. They are not fully reliant on the tuition fee.
True.
They have some other sources of the revenues, their financial revenue that is not coming from the tuition fee only.
Right.
They have a huge amount of the endowments, their alumni chapter, that is the outlook of the universities.
Okay.
And they have the certain commercial value that is coming through their own projects.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying okay, we are not going to collab one way. We have to collab where the industry taking the responsibility come forward.
Exactly.
And I'm giving the role as the HEC.
Yeah.
Right.
The Higher Education Commission can play its role. Since we have to come up with the compliance with the regulations, if HEC is coming up with a revamp, that we have to restructure ourselves. So believe me, this revamping, it's going to take in place within no time. But on a quick note, potential,
Yeah.
what we are lacking today, if I need to find out what's going on in the advanced economies, believe me, you are more passionate.
True.
I can find out the preface of this session that we have today. We are more passionate. Unfortunately, we are not visualized.
True.
So when you travel a journey, you're starting the life journey in the beginning. When you travel without the visualization, I think you are living in a foggy area. We are living our lives, we are putting our potential, we are putting our efforts, investments as well in the foggy area. We are not capitalized where we have to find a direction.
True.
So direction is same. We are speaking the same language, but still we are speaking in the silos.
Exactly. But sir, in addition to that, obviously since you're on PT World today, so you're no more in a silo as well. I think we go out in 46 different countries. But very quickly towards the end, I'm going to share one more example because you spoke about Germany and you spoke about VC venture capital as well. So imagine that banks in Japan are being fined if they're not lending money to people. So there's this cap they have within their banks that, okay, if your bank is going to have more capital than this, you will be fined because you're supposed to give people that money so that they can have their own businesses and generate their own income. So that's one point. And I think that we certainly need to learn from them. Because the banks over here, they would invest into those things which will give them overnight profit, and that too very secure as well. So they're most of the time trading with the government. But very quickly towards the end, I believe that over here what we need to do is we need to talk about sustainable development goals and how our education practices really need to be in line with the SDGs, so that we are able to achieve it by 2030, which certainly in 2023 looks like as if it's going to be a greater challenge for Pakistan. But do you think that if education is in line with the SDGs, it will help Pakistan grow economically way faster than we're growing now?
I think it's a need of the hour. If you wouldn't accept now, it's going to be more painful in the future, I would say.
Okay.
So adding to the SDGs, without ignoring the significance of the DIB, Sustainable Development Goals, your alignment of the financial models of the banks, the development side of the capital budgeting of the country, and the portfolio of the academic institution, definitely we need to align. End of the day, I need to close the loop.
True.
If my loop is not closed, it means I cannot claim that I am adding impact towards the society, I am adding impact towards the development side of the industry. But at the same time, DIB is more important. You have to come up with a sense of a diversification, that is economic, legal, social, financial inclusion.
True.
This diversification, it leads you towards inclusion.
True.
Inclusion leads you towards equality, and finally we comes with a sense of the belongingness.
True.
So believe me, horizon we are missing today. Potential is there. I speak high about my HEIs. I speak about the credentials that we have today. But don't think that you are coming up with the custodian of the knowledge that is not being shared. So I think this is one of the academic crime.
And nobody gets to be the custodian. I believe that everybody really needs to kind of share it, because that's the only knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, which won't be taxed. It's going to stay with you forever. And the more you're going to share it with people, the more people will take advantage of it. But thank you very much for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. And for everybody who's out there, I think to have such a young, vibrant demon at a business school who actually has his goals set, his priorities set right, and that too towards how all of those graduates can contribute towards the economy of the country is something we certainly need. But very quickly before we head out towards a short break, still remember, Sir Tariq, if you're out there, if you're listening, he was my marketing teacher when I picked up on marketing and I was specializing in it.
Okay.
So this gentleman, I have a lot of respect. He came all the way from an Ivy university to teach us.
Mashallah.
And we were glad that our university was able to kind of support him and brought him down for us. He used to tell me one thing. He used to say, because I think so we were a class of 30 students.
Okay.
Only 7 would pass his exam.
Okay.
So the rest would fail. And
in which category would you fall?
I would always pass, alhamdulillah, which is why I'm giving his example as well. So imagine what he used to tell us was that, okay, if I've asked you a question which is in relation to marketing, you're supposed to tell me what you think about it. I do not want you to write what the book says. And what he used to tell me was that if you want to pass my examination, if whatever you write, whatever words you choose, they convince me while I'm reading your answer, it's a pass for you. And he would certainly give us 90 or 80 marks. It was either a pass or a fail as well. So the power of communication, I think
critical thinking.
That was critical thinking and making sure that how you're going to convince, because the teacher was a client for me. That's what he taught us. And that's the kind of a practice which people really need to come up with. We need to have job festivals, ladies and gentlemen, in our universities. We need to make sure that we bridge that gap. Not just that, I think with human resource, we really need to take it forward as well. So after a short break, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a little bit of chat on human resource as well, which we are rich in. Alhamdulillah. Good morning.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, like Shahzad mentioned, we're going to talk on the human resource, and I went to a seminar out there and there was discussion going on. So because of the global inflation, because of the high prices of the everything out there, so there's one thing that we are rich in, which is the human resource, and 60% of a country comprises of the young population. So how to make sure that they are integrated into the job market, or they are working out there, or making sure that our economy is upticking, and how to invest on them, because obviously investing in the human is the new paradigm, it's the new sort of a thinking that has hit the horizons.
Exactly,
right?
but unfortunately there's a reason why I'm laughing, because most of my friends, who surround me, I'm not saying that they don't do anything, but they're very lazy people. I think with human resource, this is a dilemma over here in Pakistan, where people certainly, and this is something which we were talking about, do not have any direction. They're not sure of what they want to do in life. So whatever opportunity is going to come towards them, they're going to grab it. A few of the people will stick to it, and they will make a career out of it. But a majority of the people I've seen will come back in a year's time, 2 years time, be like, yaar, mere se nahi ho raha, main kuch aur kar leta hu.
But don't you think, Shahzad, that the dynamics of the younger people are quite changed from the older generation? Because younger generation do not like to be bossed around. They are the bosses of their own. They do not have their own office spaces. Rather, they would like to work in their jeans and sneakers, with the laptop on your laps and working out, and obviously making sure that they are earning a lot.
I used to do it too as well. I mean, for my previous TV channel, we were allowed to go walk in jeans and whatnot, but over here, our producers, they do not certainly want us to wear anything other than suits. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, human resource complying to what is required from all of us as well. But without any further ado, to speak further about it, whether have we capitalized on that one resource which we have in mass number over here in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about it, he happens to be a human resource and management expert. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Mr. Khalil Zafar. Hello sir, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I really like the way you presented human resource.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here. So, sir, the question is very simple. That one thing which we are rich in, there are people out there, your inbox might be filled in with people asking for jobs, people who want to do something in life. Why do you think that we are still unable to capitalize on such a bigger resource we have in the country? We are the 4th or 5th most populous country in the world.
To 20 million plus people. Approximately,
right,
with 70% of youth, approximately. I think statistics are more than that. 70 to 60%, let's take an average.
Okay.
We use a term these days called talent management rather than HR management.
Okay.
So, human resource management used to be in the older days, humans are resources, but now we call them as more of talent, skilled people who can do wonderful things in the world.
Because it's a specific era.
It's a specific era. Human beings are not robots. They are designed to do wonderful things. Not much of restriction. But the only issue is humans require certain set of leadership and traits and someone to look up to into the system. Unfortunately, which we do not have. It's a bit not conducive to the the overall environment. But the potential is there. And there have been some excellent examples going on into the the world of HR. It has transformed. There are some companies catching up in terms of what the best practices are. We still need to catch up. But there is a lot to do when it comes to the human development side through HR.
True.
And how do you think that we can do that? Because we keep on saying that we have to do quite a lot, but we're certainly not sure that means that what are we supposed to do with it? So what are we supposed to do with it?
See, there are a lot of things. I think first there needs to be a clear-cut planned policy where we need to go.
Okay.
Whenever we design, a company's strategic policy, we come up with some sort of a mission and vision and values of where we need to go and why we need to go over there. For HR, for this country, we need a proper plan, how to utilize it and what we need to see. Let's suppose in the coming 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. That's the most important thing. We need a vision.
Okay.
And for that vision, I think the bigger players, the government, the corporations, even the parents have to play a bigger role.
True.
And we sometimes blame everything on the government, but I've seen parents forcing their kids, you need to be a doctor or an engineer while the kid has wonderful artistic abilities and he can become a doctor as well.
True.
So if you're forcing such people to do things other than what they like, so that talent management would become a simple human resource.
True.
And
there's
let's
an interesting bit to
pontificate over the worldwide practices, Shahzad. So we have seen that how capitalistic practices are shaping different businesses around the world, especially in the Western world. And there's a lot of focus because of the lot of awareness that how consumerist trends are going out there, and the only value that matters is producing goods so that they can make out money.
No, but that
now,
choices of people now, whether
No.
to buy it or be in
no,
that
no,
environment
we are
or not.
particularly talking about the people who are employed into the corporations, who are the human resources, right? So because of that awareness, corporations are concerned about how their, human resources work out there. So they are giving them more leave. So there is a lot of debate and discourse around, how maternity leaves and how men are also allowed that leaves, right? And also, I think listening the case study of Norway or some other Norwegian country in which they said about that there are 4 working days and 3 are the holidays out there, right? How do you think such discourses have they diffused into Pakistan's corporate system? What is wrong within our own corporate
Or is
system?
it even wrong or not?
Let me clarify one thing.
Right.
We are comparing, apple with oranges. We have a different culture, different mindset, and different way of living our lives.
Right.
So let's suppose if you say in Pakistan you have a flexible environment and you can give your best in 4 hours, I think people will be sleeping till 12 o'clock and they won't be working. So we have a different sort of a culture, different sort of a mindset. We are a bit, I don't want to use the term, but you used it already, a bit lazy.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of, sometimes lazy people are the best people. They come up with some creative and
But I think the people who are working in the
ideas.
corporations, because one of my friend is working there and she always complains about how overburdened she is when it comes to the work environment, because they're not hiring other people because of the inflation, because of the other factors. And in resultantly, because when I saw her, I felt that she was getting weaker. So she says that I work a lot because I'm doing the work of 3 or 4 people. And I said that we are blessed in PTV because Alhamdulillah, there is not that much of a...
उनके लिए एक मशवरा, आप रोटी भी 3-4 लोगों की खाएं तो आप ठीक रहेंगे इंशाल्लाह. But okay, I just came across this beautiful idea where I think or I believe have capitalized on human resource. So I think it's the political parties in Pakistan. चलो भाई धरना है, आ जाओ. हजारों की झुंड में लोग आ जाएंगे because they're going to get free food, probably ₹1,000 note as well. And so imagine that, it's the political parties who have literally capitalized on human resource, making sure that they're going to come and, stand against the government or, So why do you think that the bigger corporations cannot do that if a political party can do it with ₹1,000 reward or a biryani plate?
They can do it, but I think they don't want to do it. That's the simplest answer. But my recommendation to all the corporates out there, whether it's a government sector or private sector, there needs to be properly planned industry academic relationship.
True.
Because at the end of the day, it needs to be a win-win situation. Both are stakeholders.
True.
If universities are not producing good graduates, they are going to end up in the market working for these corporates. So in the coming 5 to 10 years, you'll have issues.
Right.
But sir, I would want a slight, not correction, but slight addition over here. So imagine that if you have chosen for yourself a university which does not stand anywhere in the world ranking as well, I mean, it totally is your fault, number one. Number two, you go to a university like LUMS, you go to a university like NUST, you go to a university like IBA, since we've been speaking about business as well. The companies come over there. You haven't even graduated, you already have a job. So it is because of the fact that you chose a good university, you were a great student, you were a keen learner, and now, alhamdulillah, I haven't seen anybody graduate from LUMS and be like, yaar, naukri nahi mil rahi, or from NUST, or from IBA, or from GK, Ghulam Ishaq Khan Institute. So all of these institutes, or FAST University for that matter. But if we are to choose these universities...
What about Air University?
Air University, all right, Allah ne hawale. I'm very sorry, I'm not defaming anybody, but obviously they gave us, which was very intangible, so they gave us that knowledge set, but the skill set was missing, unfortunately. With universities like LUMS, NUST, IBA, I've been naming these universities as well, I believe that they give you a wonderful skill set that before you land onto those fields where you go to work as well. So don't you think that while people are deciding for their future, they really need to take up on bigger challenges and great universities?
I think most of the people won't like it, but this is a reality.
Thank you so much.
Reality check is what we are teaching in our universities to the students. First of all, studying at a private university doesn't mean that you are the best of the student.
True.
I call it most of the privilege that you had the luxury to afford it. True. That's why you studied it. Jack Welch was the CEO of the century. He said some of the dumbest people that I hired were from Harvard University. So it doesn't matter like from
and since you've said it, I'm going to share one more thing, and that is that now these top 500 Fortune companies are not actually hiring students who've had some good grades or degrees. What they want is a skill set. They're like, okay, this is your job description. If all of this you can perform, we certainly do not want a degree. Come to us, we'll test you, test your ability, and if you can do it all, you can be hired in Google, you can be hired in the top 500 companies.
I blame it on my community, which is HR and management.
Right.
We tend to look at things like the top tier university, 15 years of experience, and I always say, does this 15 years of experience really, clarifies you what the skill set of the person is, or can it be done in 5 years as well? So they don't have any answer to that.
Because imagine that, we all get that written from somewhere else, and then we copy paste and then change the name and the date, and then we like,
yes, exactly.
Wow,
and then we change the footers as well.
Imagine. I think we really need to be honest with our jobs. That's the first step. Because, and there's a reason why I'm speaking about it, and that is that, a lot of people do it, and unfortunately, people who've actually done it are the people who suffer later on, because they have certainly no idea of what they're getting into. I think in the first place, while even if you're seeking a job, you really need to be honest with your employer. You need to tell them that, hey sir, I think there's another mistake of an employer too, where when an advert comes out, probably on rosie.pk or in any newspaper, they say that, we want a young, vibrant, dedicated gentleman or a lady with 15 years of experience. Now imagine that we've just graduated. So there's no opportunity for people who have just graduated. So they're not left with any option but to lie. 7 साल अब्बा की कंपनी में काम किया, 3 साल दोस्त की कंपनी में, get those letters made and present it in front of you.
There's a concept called future of work.
Right.
So in future of work, the experts say there will be no job descriptions.
Right.
And plus there will be people will be required to work on any. So let's suppose you're anchoring, so you could become a producer, you can become an admin or an HR person. So you need to adapt your skills accordingly.
Right.
We are in the 4th industrial revolution, which is related to technology and automation.
It's the 5th. Yeah.
5th, moving towards 5th.
And we're not on the bandwagon as of now.
Because
we're missing it again.
We are the followers, so we are still not there.
Yeah.
My prediction is the upcoming, the revolution or the upcoming era would be, how do we link the technology and automation with the human skills? So this is going to be the major challenge.
Right.
Adjusting people, adjusting great talent with technology and with automation, and for that we need to understand how human brain works. Different personalities require different set of skills, different set of behaviors, and not only to manage employees, you also need leaders and managers as well, who knows and understand the younger generation, the older generation, and people coming from different social classes.
And that they can take decision on time as well. I've been very vocal about it, that people on those leadership positions, you really need to take decisions. Just because you have to save your job, please make sure that you're not going to, keep that company at halt. Make sure that you keep on going. Very quickly towards the end, do you think that we can have a job market which is need-based, rather than universities producing all of those graduates out there, making their money? It's a business model. Unfortunately, that's the reality. It's a business model. They have to graduate a certain number of students every year to make more revenue. But do you think that if our economy becomes, or the human resource becomes need-based, there will be more fruitful future prospects for students who would be graduating?
I think there is. Whenever there is a economic, social turmoil within the society, always one of the industries that boom is the education industry, because people tend to do a bit of more certifications in universities, or padha do, so we get better jobs. But I think people should opt for alternates. Self-employment. Start utilizing the online mediums, whether it's freelancing or working at Amazon or self-entrepreneurship or anything. If you're not getting the job, don't waste your time, your precious time, your youth, your skills. Explore other areas. I think this is the most important thing to.
Exactly, and I think that's a wonderful message to wrap it up as well.
True. And one more thing that I would like to say or contemplate here is that be mindful how you consume your social media, because like Shahzad mentioned, a lot of Forbes companies, they are looking at your digital personality and then they are hiring you. So if you are foolishly posting out stuff on your social media, especially on the public platforms, then this is not going to go in your favor when it comes to your recruitment. So that is very important.
Exactly, and I think that the world was really smart. If you talk about the West, because they knew that we certainly would want to travel there as well. Even for your visas, they might take a good look at your profile. So make sure that you're a sensible human being, that you do not, because when they say that think before you speak, I think you really need to think before you post as well. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.